when they carried the ark of the Lord had gone 6 paces, he sacrificed an ox and a ram. And David danced with all his might before the Lord. And David was girded with a linen ephod. And David and all the house of Israel brought the ark of the covenant of the Lord with joyful shouting and with sound of trumpet.
Welcome to Analog Catholic. My name is Ben.
My name is Rob.
Hi, Rob.
Hi, Ben. Nice time meeting you.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
How's your day going, Rob?
It's going well. How's yours?
My day's pretty good. My day's pretty good.
That's awesome.
Happy to be here.
I'm glad to hear it. What do you want to talk about today?
You want to talk about dancing?
Uh, yeah, we
Not
could
that's
talk
not
about
that was not the plan, but I feel like
we could talk about that. We could also talk about the original idea, which was music.
okay.
Uh,
All right, let's talk about music.
I'm fine about it, man. I'm fine about
All
it.
right, okay, all right. So what do you think about music?
It's nice. I I like I like it. I hate to be the controversial guy here. I enjoy music. I think it's good. I
You're
think it uplifts
ridiculous.
the soul.
I can't believe you would say that.
No, I think music is like other forms of media related topics we've talked about. We talk about video games. We do a lot of movie reviews. We've done a book review. I think music, like all other forms of media, really it's a moderation thing, but it's also a like what are you letting influence your subconscious kind of thing. There's a huge, I don't know, culture is the word. I don't know. A lot of people just sort of put music on when they're in the car, right? Like you're going for a drive, you got to put music on. And there are some who are intentional with it, and there are some where, like, I've driven with them, music just starts and it doesn't stop, and they're not really interested in turning the music off, even if you're having a conversation with them. It's just like, no, the music's on all of the time in my car. It just is what it is. And I have to wonder, one, why? Uh, but then two, is it like because you don't want to have silence at all? Are you afraid of silence? Do you hate silence? Or I, because I hate someone's gonna be, because I know one of the excuses is gonna be like, no, like I'm a music lover. I love music. It's yeah, we're all music lovers, man. Like everyone likes music, but not everyone just has it on all of the time that you're driving, like overriding your thoughts and influence you subconsciously. And so, outside of the context of explicit songs or not explicit songs, Christian music, whatever, there's just this push. No, it's not even a push. It's really not a push. There's just this like thing where people are just always listening to music. You go into a store, there's music. You go into your car, there's music. You go into a cab, there's music. It's just constant music. You're watching like an ad, there's a jingle. It's just never ending noise in music. And I think that messes with someone's interior silence. I think that really prevents people from just like having the ability to be in silence. And so yeah, I'm curious your thoughts on. Obviously you can go down a lot of different ways when it comes to music, but just like in particular to me, like that's what comes to my mind first is like this overwhelming use of music in today's culture should just basically be background noise to everyone's life. And I think that's bad. I think it's spiritually harmful.
Yeah, I think that's a good perspective. Yeah, and I think it is too, especially like what is popular music. I mean, I think that's so. I think there's a lot of stuff that's popular in different circles, and I think that's being more and more enabled by like streaming services and stuff. But like a lot of stuff that people listen to is like disgusting, right?
Yeah.
Like lyrically is like problematic. And like what you're saying about, yeah, the subconscious thing, like yeah, even if it's on softly while you're driving around in the car, um, like that's something you're exposing your brain to every day. If it's crass or vulgar or just bad in general.
Yeah.
Um, and I do think that's a really good point of like, even if it's not right, like you're still just, even if it's morally um ambiguous, like you're still just like, why does it need to be there? I think silence is a really good thing.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, like I think, yeah, like to be able to drive in the car without playing music, I think is like good that you can have moments of silence. And yeah, your point too with like going to a store, right? It's like the same thing. Like you're not allowed to just walk around silently. Um, you're kind of like drowning out any kind of interior life, or at least trying to, um, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
I Oh, go ahead.
no, I think like I've noticed lately for myself, right, to apply the car thing. Like I don't listen to music in the car.
Yeah.
Sometimes if I'm like driving a little, because my drive to work is like 3 minutes, right? So like that helps. Sometimes
Yeah.
if I'm driving a little bit further, I'll put on like our classical radio station that's in,
Yeah.
local. Um, and I'll listen to that and I enjoy like that's really it. Um, and this is like new for me, like as in I would say like the past year or so. I think something that's interesting. I don't know if we've talked about it before. We definitely haven't on the podcast. When I grew up being really into like rock music,
Hmm.
really big into like alt rock stuff, that kind of thing. I grew up in like a very musical family and stuff, and
Yeah.
big electric guitar fan. And I had like an appreciation for more orchestral genres. But about 2 years ago or so, when I like it's just like the funny month of my life, the month I got engaged to be married. Well, okay, more context. I just like gonna do all of it. I again rock guy, that kind of thing. I didn't drink alcohol. I think I maybe had like a couple sips of things in my life. Never any hard liquors or anything.
Yeah.
And I would not read fiction. I was not like a fiction guy. I was like a fiction guy when I was like in middle school. But since then I hadn't like been able to get through an entire fiction book or novel or anything. Um, and the month I got engaged, like within the month after, I had whiskey for the first time and um, got super into it. Not in like an alcoholic way, but in like a, reasonable, moderate, just interested in the enjoyment of the culture. I read The Old Man and the Sea by Ernest Hemingway, and I had my eyes open to the world of like good, beautiful fiction writing. And I just started listening to like almost exclusively classical music. And like I like joke that I just like became a man in like a month. Uh because like all of these things appealed to me that never did.
Yeah.
Um and so like I think it's tough like as I said off the air before we started recording, I was like I haven't really been listening to anything. And it's because I don't now as much. I still like have a general appreciation for a lot of the music I used to listen to, but I think it can be so easy like with music to distract ourselves. And also just yeah, like it's a world of art. And there's like good versions and bad versions. um but I've been more and more again the past year or so, um like just so like uninterested in the rock music and more interested in silence for sure, but then also like stuff that came out more than 100 years ago. Because it's almost always it is always more complex and more beautiful and there's more to appreciate.
Yeah.
And so in I think a lot of modern music we've completely like simplified and abandoned like actual developed beauty. I don't know how to describe it. Like
Hmm.
I'm not the musical genius or like trained to be able to describe to you what's happening in Mozart's Requiem or Handel's Wata music. Um, but it's incredible. Like it's just so it's obviously like people talk about like, oh, we do the four chords and we sing kind of like within this octave of these four chords, all like like there's things people talk about, but
Yeah.
um yeah, like orchestral music, kind of ancient music. Like it's just more beautiful. Not to say anything new is bad. I'm just that's my rambling thoughts of why I felt like I had nothing to talk about.
No, that's great. That's good. I appreciate you mentioning to the listeners that you didn't get in to talk about. Uh, when we decided to do uh, this topic, I I really so my thing with music, I've just enjoyed music. I never did music theory. I the only instrument I ever did was I took a one semester of a piano class in high school, and there was no like real instruction. It was literally the teacher showed us where middle C was on the keyboard, and then says, "Okay, plug your headphones in and like here's some really basic sheet music and just do it." So it was just like me messing around on the keyboard for a whole semester and never really learning how to play. Um, but I've always like enjoyed music, always loved music. My main genre that was my favorite forever, I guess could still be considered one of my top, genres is like progressive rock, progressive metal. Um, there's a lot there with it. They do a lot. I consider them like the actual successors of classical music. And I think if someone listened to them truly, they would agree. But I've noticed as I've gotten older, I've enjoyed less of the complicated. No, I don't say I enjoy it less. I've just also shifted to adding a lot of like Americana folk bluegrass to my listenings. I think my favorite band right now is the Hillbilly Thomists, because they just do. Oh, uh-oh. You hear
Yeah, I think.
me? Sorry for the technical difficulty there. So I just found joy in music and musicians that are just more about like life, and at least for the Hillbilly Thomas specifically, it's like also about our life and God. Um, so it's just like a very enjoyable genre of music for me. But yeah, I kind of agree with your thoughts of that, or what you said about music is just like this thing to appreciate rarely. I don't, it shouldn't be rare necessarily, but yeah, I don't drive. My commute to work is 30 minutes, not 3 minutes, but I don't listen to music on it. I was doing podcasts, but now I honestly just kind of drive in silence. And it gives me a lot of time to just like think about things, think about life, think about God, think about philosophy. Think about ideas for articles to write, think about ideas for like books I want to write. Um, it actually got to the point where I bought and recently came in the mail today a digital voice recorder. So when I'm driving, I could record my thoughts because I can't write things down or type on my phone when I'm driving. And so I got this voice recorder so I could just start recording all my ideas. Because I also just do better verbalizing things than just letting it sit in my mind and then trying to say it to someone afterwards or like to write it down. Um, but I think music it's definitely one of those things where when you take really good music and you let yourself just be listening to music, not treating it as a background thing, you can really, really get into it. I had a friend in high school who was like super into, he was like a major audiophile, and he got me into like being a little bit of a snob with music. So when I would have music files, I always wanted lossless quality, which is like the best quality you can get. Um, the FLAC file type. I think Apple has a proprietary one called Apple Lossless, whatever. And like these really high quality headphones. And it was like listening to the music for the first time all over again because the quality was so good. And sometimes I would just literally sit there and I would close my eyes and I would just listen to the music. And it's a surreal experience. And, I feel like if you're not able to do that, or if you're not going to like a concert, music really should be minimized because it's art, it's good. I mean, there's beauty to it, and treating it as just this background thing, this like pop consumption, again, it's just like so bad for you, bad for your soul, bad for your mind, bad for your like ear, like your aesthetic tastes. Um, yeah, I think music can be this like a phenomenal thing, but it has to be done correctly. And I think correctly is to me, that's highest quality audio file with high tier headphones. You turn the lights off, close your eyes, and just let it go. You just let yourself get lost. But then that, of course, goes to like, what are you actually listening to? Because then you gotta be really important with that
Right.
as well.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, and I think this is like where we see, in the evolution of Ben, like the love of whiskey and the love of like more classical orchestral music
Yeah,
growing together is like that's what I would do is like I would sit with a couple friends, like usually once a week, for like the year before I got married, and we would just listen to a classical music record and drink whiskey, and there'd be some conversation, but it would be usually like about just sitting there listening.
yeah,
And I think that was huge. Like that, that kind of, and that's like how to enjoy these things. And that's how they're made to be enjoyed, right? Like Mozart wrote, um, like at the time, it was not like you listen to it on the radio. It was like you go to a opera house and you like see the magic flute performed. Like you see these things and like hear them and experience them live and exclusively, right? Like you're
yeah,
not doing something else at the same time. And I think maybe that's why like music seems to have gotten, technically more lazier.
mhm,
Um, and it's because, it's now like an accompaniment thing, versus it used to be like this was it, right? Like you would go and the music had to be everything at that moment. And so it had to be more complex and beautiful. But yeah, to like get into some kind of practicals like we've done for other medias, like how do you feel about like profanity in music or um like sexual reference or like the I don't couldn't name an artist necessarily, but people talk about the rap music that talks about killing people, right? Like that's a stereotypical thing. So like how do you feel like violence, sex,
yeah.
profanity in music? What are your kind of general thoughts? Like how should we approach that as virtuous Catholics?
I think this is I've really thought about this a lot. I think music is more interesting in this than television um, or movies. I don't like to listen to songs that have overt sexual or violent imagery, which is funny because I'll watch a show that's violence and be like, yeah, whatever. Right, or play a game that's violent and be like, yeah, whatever. But this idea that like you're listening to a song that's like getting you into this like mental mode, and it's just like, okay, now here's just like a ton of violence and pornographic imagery we're gonna like throw into your mind. Like it's almost hypnotic in a way. um, and just what I was trying to say, like you just gotta be careful like what you're listening to. Like it does influence your thoughts, it does influence your subconscious, whether you realize it or not. Um, and I've turned off songs that I used to like as a kid that like I think nowadays I'm just like, but that's just I just don't want to listen to that, which I think is like partly why I've also experienced a sort of like a gradual genre shift to like my priorities with music, which is, you know, that folk Americana like doesn't really have violence or sexuality. And I don't mean like pop country songs like everyone like likes to call country nowadays, but like the older stuff or even the newer stuff, but the newer stuff that's like a more like fine-tuned genre. Um, Yeah, I'm actually less a fan of it. Well, I'm not really a fan of it necessarily, but I'm more opposed to it in music than I am in television or movies, which is like I said, like, motivated by the fact that when you listen to music and you truly like listen to it, you're letting it influence you in a way that I think is greater than other media. Because other media, you're a passive bystander. You're just sort of like you're watching it, you're hearing it, you're seeing it, and you're just sort of like nah, it is what it is. But with music, music is hard to enjoy, I think, honestly, if you're not focused on it. And when you're focused on it, you're just letting it permeate who you are because that's how music really works. And so, yeah, and I think we've seen this gradual shift. At this point, it's not gradual. We've experienced this shift where the majority of music now, I don't listen to anything considered pop. I don't listen to anything top 40. I don't listen to anything that's like what the average Joe apparently listens to because I just don't. enjoy it. One, I don't think it's like technically intelligent, so I'm not really impressed. Two, I think the lyrics are usually like stupid. It's sophomoric.
So,
Yeah, I think your AirPods died.
all right, another technical glitch. I kind of forgot my train of thought where I was at. But I think yeah, music is just oh yeah, the pop music. Yeah, it's just like garbage. It's just terrible, and everyone's like, and I'm just gonna say it. Taylor Swift sucks. Every pop musician sucks. There's nothing technically impressive about what they do. Their lyrics are juvenile and sophomoric. And the entire reason why they exist is because you've been brainwashed into thinking you need to like devote yourself to these people. And you think it's good music. It's not good music. It sucks. It's terrible. Listen to real good music. Listen to music that actually like makes you think. Like if you're gonna listen to music, listen to something beautiful and aesthetic and technical and like actually forces you to like really engage with the music. And stop listening to music in the background. It's terrible.
Yeah, I think I would agree with most of what you said. I think, yeah, the idea of, and I think pop music is different than it used to be because like people, like there's so much more music available to people. It's not like people are going to record stores as much. They're, have just billions and billions and billions of songs on Spotify, so they could like, I think tastes are becoming more niche, but I do agree that it feels like with swearing and like sexual references, like I think it's really rare that you'll find something like a song that'll have like a swear in it, but will not be about what will be about something that's more complex or beautiful and not be about something crass or like you said, sophomoric. Like I think that's maybe why it feels like a harder rule. Like there can be um like somebody swearing in a movie that's about like the movie's about something that's interesting and beautiful and it's sort of just like something that maybe you can discern is worth or appropriate to tolerate in that instance, but with yeah like music it's like the music that has swears in it is usually like crappy music anyway, so it's like easier to be dismissive of it, and it's easier to like all right I'm not going to listen to that type of music because it's not worth it. um and so I think that's why it feels that way. And then also like, yeah, again, it's just indicative usually of what the music's like. Yeah, and I think I have not listened to anything new from Taylor Swift. I've heard Love Story and the older stuff when I was younger. And I'm sure it hasn't improved. So I think I can agree with your statement that yeah, the top 40 is probably all just crap. I haven't tried to step into it, and I think a lot of yeah, what and again, like I haven't listened to this stuff recently, so maybe there's something deeply mature that's happening in pop music. But I think a lot of times it's just like it's about sex or it's about like the boyfriend that cheated on me or I lost, and it's like, what are we like? Is this like let's in like music? I like a lot of music that it was like the great music was always about like God, right? Like this it's about like it's something beautiful should be directed towards the ultimate beauty. The ultimate beauty is not, your high school crush or whatever. And that's like what music seems to be on a loop of either just crassness or like again, like this immaturity. Which I think Taylor Swift is kind of known for her like she writes about boys and it's like people still care, I guess, but like it's feels like immature and childish. Yeah. So I think that's music.
Yeah,
Um,
I think that's music too.
I think that's all. That's all we have to say. Thank you for joining us today
It's a quick
for this.
episode
It
due to technical
was.
difficulties.
I know we're kind of in and out of stuff there.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, we appreciate you joining us, and we will see you soon, I'm sure. But until then, I am Ben,
I am Rob,
and this has been
Analog Catholic.